Hello. So welcome to the second installment of Blind Beauty, and today I'm going to be focusing on tips to buying makeup as a colorblind or visually impaired person. First and foremost, learn to take suggestions, and being more of an independent person on the inside, I mean obviously I'm legally blind, I'm going to depend on people to a certain degree for the rest of my life, that's just the way it is, and that's something that we all need to accept one way or another. But being more of an independent person, like I was saying, it's really hard for me to give somebody else control. It's really hard for me to ask for help or to ask somebody, hey, what looks good on me? But one of the biggest things that I can tell you is to learn to take suggestions. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, you don't have to take word for word what they're saying, but hear them out, you know, ask multiple people, hey, what do you think looks good on me? You know, and then from there you can start to look at things and decide what looks good on you. So, I mean, you could go to a makeup counter. I know that on a couple of the achromatopsia boards that I had talked to about this stuff, a couple people had said that they had gone to MAC counters, or, you know, they went to counters in Macy's or whatever, and they had a professional, you know, beauty consultant talk to them about, you know, what looks good on them, and, you know, they had them apply it to them. And, I mean, that's something that you could do, but that I will get more into that later on why I don't personally do that. For me personally, I've preferred to talk to friends and family. And one of the good things about friends or family members is that they could also, if they have a little time on their hands at some point, they could also like scour the internet and find a person, whether it's a YouTuber or a beauty blogger, who has a similar skin tone to you. And then from there, you can maybe look at that beauty blogger or vlogger or whatever and assume generally that what looks good on them is going to look good on you. The second tip I have is to shop online. I cannot tell you how wonderful the internet has been for me when it comes to shopping for makeup. I don't typically like going to places like Sephora or Ulta simply because the lights are so freaking bright in there. And having achromatopsia, that also means that I am incredibly sensitive to light. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I go into a store and people are like, you know, you're squinting. Oh, thank you, I wasn't aware. I had no idea until you just pointed it out to me. I do not like going into those stores, and I don't like to really consult with people simply because that would mean that I would have to take off my glasses, you know, because I have the prescription sunglasses, and then I really can't see a freaking thing. So even if I did have somebody professionally applying this to me, I wouldn't be able to see anything that they're doing or what they're putting on me. I would have absolutely no idea because I can't see anything. So shopping from the comfort of my own home has made a world of difference to me, especially when you're shopping on websites that do provide color descriptions. That is huge. That is huge. I'm going to be doing an entirely different video on the importance of color description, but I will also link down below some websites that do primarily provide color descriptions for a lot of their products or a lot of their brands. My third tip is to trust reviews. This is also huge. You know, a lot of times you want to, you know, trust yourself. You know, you're an independent woman or man, and you want to trust yourself. But the thing is that you can't always, you know, you have no idea if that's a taupe or a brown or a green or a blue. You have no freaking clue. So let's say that you really like this eyeshadow palette. You really like this eyeshadow palette, but nowhere online is providing you with a color description of this eyeshadow palette. Search for it. You know, find blogs that have already reviewed this and assume that the color descriptions that they are giving are the correct color description. There are times when I am going through the different blogs. Sometimes I am looking for hours for a blog that has reviewed something and actually has provided the color description. Again, I'm going to be going into a whole video on the importance of color description, but sometimes I'm looking for a really long time. But if it's worth it to you, you'll do the research. Another tip I have is to learn about yourself through someone you trust. This can sometimes get a little tricky because everybody sees things differently. Even though you can't see things at all, okay, you can't see colors at all, the fact of the matter is that everybody who does see color, they see it differently. Danny sees my skin tone as being pink, and my sister sees my skin tone as being slightly pink, and it differs from person to person. It's really crazy. So that is where that can get a little tricky. But unfortunately, you can't see this yourself. Where they are seeing it, you know, slightly different from person to person, you're just not seeing it at all. So it is really important to learn about yourself from someone you trust. You know, someone who you know is going to tell you truthfully what they are seeing. So, I mean, you can sit down with your mom or your sister or your best friend or whoever and ask them, okay, what color is my skin? And what are my undertones? You know, what color are your eyes? What color hair do you have? What color are your eyebrows? Things like that. It's really important to know that about yourself so that you can then go and maybe venture off and find things to buy for yourself. It kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm about to say, which is my last tip would be learn to love YouTube. YouTube has been a huge influence in my makeup application and my makeup buying and, you know, just all things makeup. But the problem with YouTube that I have found, and the problem with other blogs and such, is that even though you like how that looks on that person, as a colorblind person, it is really hard to think in your head that even though it looks good on them, it probably won't look the same on you because they might be significantly darker than you, or maybe they'll be lighter than you, you know. So you don't, as a colorblind person, we're not seeing that difference, you know, on the screen. Not to get racial here or anything, but a white person is a white person, and a, you know, a person of color is a person of color, you know, or an Asian person is an Asian person. But you're not registering that their skin tones are different. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm watching a video from a Caucasian person, I'm not seeing that their skin tone is still darker than mine. I'm just seeing, oh yeah, I'm watching this video from this white girl, you know what I'm saying? When I'm buying makeup based on what I'm seeing in a YouTube video, sometimes I'll be surprised when I get that home, or I, you know, get it in the mail or whatever, and I'm going to put it on myself and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a little darker. Unfortunately, I have spent a lot of money and time doing this, but it's really, so much of it is just about experimentation, and fortunately enough, a lot of these stores are very, very open to returns. Even if you have tried something and you don't like it, maybe you've tried something a couple times, they will still accept it as a return. Even if it's opened, they will still accept it as a return. Not all of them, so you will probably want to look into return policies. Things are going to differ from person to person, obviously. You know, just like what I said before, where some people have said that, you know, going to a makeup counter was really helpful for them, whereas for me, I physically really can't do that because it is just way too bright. It just wouldn't work for me. So, I mean, you really have to, a lot of it is finding out what works for you. A lot of it, like I said, is just experimental, you know, just get up the courage to be experimental with it, you know. And I will be doing a video on courage and getting brave with this stuff, because I know it is hard. It's hard to even attempt to do this because you can't see what you're doing. So those are my top tips for buying makeup as a visually impaired / colorblind person. I hope that this was helpful for somebody. These are just the tips that I had compiled. I hope that this wasn't too scatterbrained for you. I've tried to, obviously I made notes, but I hope that I hit on everything. I did everything I could think of. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and I will do my best to answer them. Until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Ta-ta.